speaking of crazy things in courtrooms, this judge who late yesterday tried to stop the Trump administration, and for now has stopped the Trump administration from removing temporary protected status from Haitians. So Joe Biden let some nearly 400,000 Haitians into the country and said, with my magic wand, I declare you temporary protected status, which means you're not an illegal. You can't be kicked out because you've got my magic, designation. And Trump came in and said, I'm lifting that. That we're not going to wait that out. I'm lifting that right now. And this judge has said, and this is the same judge who said that Trump wasn't allowed to say transgender people can't serve in the military, and she was reversed for a hysterical opinion she issued there. And now she's at it again, saying Trump, as the sitting commander-in-chief, does not have the power to remove with his pen what Joe Biden granted with his. And on you can hear the woman's ideology. Anna Reyes is her name, Federal District Court of Washington, where she says there's a hostility to non-white immigrants that Kristi Noem has shown. She goes on to say the government has not cited any reason to end temporary protected status for Haitians abruptly, and its approach is not in the public interest, she's decided. Quote, the government does not cite any reason termination must occur post-haste. Secretary Noem complains of strains that unlawful immigrants place on our immigration enforcement system. Her answer, turn 352,959 lawful immigrants into unlawful ones overnight. She complains of strains to our economy. Her answer, turn employed lawful immigrants who contribute billions in taxes into the legally unemployable. She complains of strains to our healthcare system. Her answer, turn the insured into the uninsured. This approaches many things. In the public interest is not one of them. Who died and elected her president? Rich.
Yeah, she's the new DHS secretary, I guess. So we saw this in the first term as well, where some judges apparently consider unilateral executive action a one-way ratchet. So Obama could do things unilaterally, and then when Trump just wanted to reverse it, judges said, no, you can't do that. That would be crazy. And this is a version of that, made even worse by the fact that this is temporary protected status, with emphasis on temporary, which means eventually it's supposed to go away and be reversed. Look, I don't think it's great. It's a bad situation for these Haitians. You had an administration letting them in with the assumption, you get to stay forever. That's the way temporary protected status is very often work. But under the law, Trump obviously can revoke it. And this just goes to the broader aspect of this whole immigration debate over the last year, where the left and Democrats and Biden, they created facts on the ground by letting a bunch of people in, either legally, kind of laundering people who otherwise wouldn't get in through these various means, the CPB app or this TPS status for Haitians and others, and or just let them flood in and give them a notice to appear that was going to be ignored. And then when Trump comes in and says, okay, I'm going to revoke the temporary status, I'm going to end CPB, I'm going to go after and deport these people, like, no, you can't do that. This is the status quo. And a big problem are Hollywood celebrities, folks in Minneapolis. They now take it as a given that the status quo of ignoring the law, the black and white letter of the law, was a status quo such as that it's an intolerable act of aggression if someone actually dares to do what the law says should be done. You detain the illegal immigrants until the proceedings reach a final conclusion, and if they can stay, fine, and if they go, you deport them. That's what it says in the law. And Trump's offense here is just trying to actually apply the law for a change.
I mean, now we have a pair of rulings over the past 72 hours. This one we discussed yesterday a bit with Jonathan Turley, the one from the judge in Texas, who decided that the little boy and his dad, who were arrested by Border Patrol in Minneapolis and shipped down, getting ready for removal back to their native country, that he had to be released. They both had to be released, and finished his opinion with a picture of the little boy in the dog hat with the wrong date, said it was dated February 31st, was lecturing and sanctimonious throughout the opinion. I mean, speaking of Scalia, Charlie, he would be horrified at the attempts to legislate from the bench we are seeing these days.
Yeah, that second opinion you mentioned was honestly one of the most unhinged things I've ever read from a judge, to the point at which I initially thought it had been faked. The February 31st made me wonder if it was a joke. That was not law, and he's not a judge. The annoying part of this, I think, is that these decisions are given the imprimatur of law. And so those who favor them can say, look, the Trump administration once again has been struck down by a judge. But what is conspicuously missing from the first case we were discussing, the Judge Reyes case with temporary protected status, is any specific references to the statute. Now, I am, as you know, a big critic of the way that Congress has over the years delegated powers to the president. There are far too many laws, in my view, that say, in the judgment of the president, or in the estimation of the secretary, or that just hand sweeping powers that were reserved to Congress to the president. But Congress has done that, and it's done that a lot in the area of immigration. And one of the things that it has allowed the president to do, for example, is determine if there are any countries from which immigrants might pose a threat. You can shut those down. Another thing that Congress has allowed the president to do is determine whether or not people deserve temporary protected status and when that temporary protected status stops. The laws here aren't particularly complicated. They don't say the president has to file a report that meets 17 different criteria. They say in the public interest, they say in the judgment of the president. And the Supreme Court has historically treated this area as non-justiciable. That is to say that the Supreme Court does not decide whether or not the president's judgment was correct, only whether or not he got to make it. This isn't like the tariffs area, where it is much more cabined. So Joe Biden was allowed to determine that Haiti and Haitians qualified for temporary protected status, and Joe Biden did. And Donald Trump is allowed to say that they no longer do. I think it would be silly, but if Donald Trump tomorrow said Britain is such a mess that the British are entitled to temporary protected status, no judge could say that that was wrong. And no judge could say that a subsequent president who made the opposite determination was wrong either. We've already had a Supreme Court case that is almost identical to this one. We know what this Supreme Court thinks about this matter. It has come up before. It will come up again. This will be appealed all the way up to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court is going to say, I think, what I just said, which is this is a non-justiciable question. The same power that allowed Biden to let them in allows Donald Trump to send them home. It doesn't really matter whether people like that, think it's fair or mean or great or bad. She mentioned insurance, employment, economic contributions. Those things are not in the law. If they were, she'd have a point, but they're not. Right. So he gets to do this in the way Biden got to do it, and the judges do not get to second guess him unless there is a law that says to the contrary.
This is the second time now that she's tried to overturn a decision by Trump or his secretary, thanks to, quote, animus. The trans opinion she issued was all about his alleged animus and Pete Hegseth's alleged animus towards trans people. This one's all about the alleged animus of Kristi Noem to people from third world countries. And they quote her saying stuff similar to what Trump has said, like, I don't think she used the term shithole countries, but she came close. Like, we just don't want these people here anymore. They leech off of us and they're out. And she's using that to say this is a racial animus that's motivating this. Meanwhile, good luck with that. If they actually do look at, Trump very clearly wants to stop these immigrants from everywhere. Look what he did at the southern border. He doesn't want anybody here on temporary protected status. I don't know if there's another example of a group of white immigrants from like Denmark who he's allowing. They probably got shipped off to Greenland by Trump anyway, in a dog sled. So this woman's a problem. She's an activist and she's using her own priors to try to sweep Kristi Noem and Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump all under this, you're full of hatred banner. And she's going to have to get her hand slapped again by the Supreme Court. You're right. Tricia McLaughlin, who's the DHS spokesperson, tweeted out Supreme Court, here we come. This is lawless activism that we will be vindicated on, and went on from there. International disputes, inflation, rising national debt, digital currency. There is a never-ending list of reasons that gold has risen over 700% in the last 20 years. And a never-ending list of reasons smart Americans diversify a portion of their savings into precious metals with Birch Gold Group. Gold can thrive during uncertainty, which is why it's a crucial part of a balanced strategy. It gives you peace of mind, given all the events that could impact the U.S. economy. See if holding gold in a tax-sheltered retirement account is right for you. Birch Gold can help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold. Just text MK to the number 989898 to receive your free info kit on gold. There's no obligation, just useful information. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, consider letting Birch Gold help you diversify with gold, so you too can have peace of mind regardless of the uncertainty. Text MK to the number 989898. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.